Hello, everybody. All right, with that piece of business out of the way, so hope everybody's having a good week thus far. We've of course reached Hump Day, middle of the week, Wednesday. Getting over that hump, as it were. Um, all right. So first off, of course, if you guys haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to watch. That'd be appreciated. Like and share. Also, if anything we talk about tonight, um, if anything we talk about tonight grabs your attention, feel free to like or feel free to comment and or ask questions. Um, if anything grabs your attention, feel free to okay comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So with that, as we wait for a few more people to come in here, I'm gonna put on some music for a moment while I take care of some stuff, and then when I come back, we'll talk about what's on tap for tonight. So, anyways, uh, all right. So, anyways, I'll put on some music while I take care of some things real quick. I'll be right back. All right. So, as we're now like 3 minutes into the show, why don't we go ahead and talk about what's on tap for tonight? So, with that, so of course it's Wednesday, so we're going to be heading over to Bleeding Fool to talk a bit about the Indie Comic Showcase. We're going to go over that, among other things. Of course, is Mike Barron's latest, weird Western tale adventure, Bronze Star. A couple other interesting stories in there as well that we'll be taking a look at. Also, of course, later on we'll be doing the wrestling wrap up, including talking about the passing of Iron Sheik, and then of course finishing off with this day in each history. So let me just check one more thing here, then we'll probably get started. All right. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and one more thing here before we on. All right. So, anyways, let's go ahead and get ready to move on there. Alrighty then. So, here we go. All right. Well, this will be the main story that we're going to cover tonight here. Indie Comic Showcase number 227, Bronze Star, Unbreakable Argonauts, and Virtue Signal NPC. Article by Chris Braley, published earlier today. So this is a weekly little podcast he does. This is in the, obviously the printed form from his site, Bleeding Fool. We're gonna, of course, go over it, and I'll give some commentary on it, and see where we go from there. So let's go ahead and get into this then. Welcome back to another installment of Indie Comic Showcase, the weekly blog where we signal boost a few truly independent comics that are currently crowdsourcing their funding in some way, or just completely self-publishing on their own. Every little bit of support for these creators matters, from a single dollar pledge to the $25 bundle. And of course, the higher tiers are usually fun too. Even if you can't back a campaign or buy a book, you can share or tweet about these projects to your friends and followers. Getting the word out. When I cover it, I hope everybody's liking, sharing my stream to get more eyes on the material, to help to disseminate the information, right? Because knowledge is power. Schoolhouse Rocky, the chip off the block, is your favorite schoolhouse rock. Many of you probably remember that one, right? Anyways, getting back to the article here. On Indie Comic Showcase, we interview the creators, show off some art, and tell you how you can check out the product for yourself. Below, we have some outstanding crowdfunding campaigns this week for you to learn about, enjoy, and hopefully support by backing one or more of them. Thanks for checking these out and for being the best part of Indie Comic Showcase. Let's jump in. Bronze Star by Mike Barron. And this has been getting some heat last couple of days here, as apparently Mike is sitting there trying to do this on Kickstarter. You guys heard me talk about this yesterday, where even I kind of scratch my head, wonder why people still will use Kickstarter and Indiegogo when they're obviously not, especially when it comes to conservatives or people who, from an ideological perspective, are more on the right, are not too friendly. But anyways, let's get into this. Chris Braley, welcome back to Indie Comic Showcase, Mike. Hit me with your elevator pitch for Bronze Star. Mike Barron. Bronze Star is a suspenseful, weird Western tale that explores redemption and revenge, offering a fresh take on the werewolf mythos while delivering heart-pounding scares, glorious artwork, and unexpected twists that will grab readers by the throat and will not let go until the final page. It is the best work of Pat's career. Let me see. And just to reiterate something, of course, I talked about yesterday, of course, Weird Western Tales is also a series that DC produced, I think, back in the late, no, actually it was in the 70s. It may have been the 70s or even the 80s. I know Jonah Hex was the main feature in that one. Anyways, getting back to the article here. Chris, you've been pretty public that this is a werewolf tale. Can you get into the setup for this story? Um, Mike, our protagonist, is a veteran of the Confederacy, which of course would make me wonder if he maybe crossed paths with Jonah Hex at all. Who hunts game to sell and likes to play poker. So, just for those who may not know what they mean, hunts game to sell. Game is like, basically, when you're hunting game, you're hunting, meat. You're hunting, animals. You know, um, a lot of game hunters, as they were, do it more for the sport of it, so they could, mount the heads on their mantles, as trophies. So one night, a card game turns deadly, and he hightails it to an old silver mining town where the Croatian sheriff is a werewolf. Seeking a cure from the Cree warrior Pawa, um, Pawa, the sheriff has learned. I think it's learned, not learned. Learned, a little typo there. Only death will free him. He didn't become a werewolf until he emigrated, and it has something to do with the old silver mine in Cobb's Gap. No one goes in the mine at night. At night, the town hears an eerie moaning. The story takes some twists and turns, culminating in a blazing showdown where the reader finally learns why nobody ever goes into the mine. The werewolf is not the monster you're looking for. Wow. Oh my God. Wouldn't that, man, if you cross paths with that creature right there, I'm sure that would scare the bejeebies out of just about anybody. Look at that. That thing looks quite big and hairy and monstrous, doesn't it? Just because something looks big and scary doesn't always mean that it is. Um, Anyways, continuing on with the article here. Chris, where did this idea originate? Mike, Pat said we should do a project together. When I asked what he wanted to draw, he told me a Western, quote unquote, which inspired me to do a quote unquote weird Western. I love Westerns and have always wanted to do a story like this. And let me just again reiterate, as I talked about yesterday and I mentioned earlier, DC, which was a company that Mike did work for at one time, um, had a book called Weird Western Tales. I remember that Jonah Hex was the main feature in there, where it had him doing all encountering all sorts of strange phenomena. Chris, all these years that you've both been in the comic industry, you've never worked with Pat before. Mike answers, um, "Nope. This is the first time, and we both think this is the best work of his career. I'm pretty pleased with how the book turned out, too, with realistic dialogue and Pat Broderick's stunning artwork. I think Bronze Star will stay with the readers long after they put it down." Well, yeah, if his art is that good, I mean, if his art is as incredible as that, the way he made that werewolf look in the previous panel that we saw, then yeah, this gonna be a hot seller, pretty sure of it. Oh, that's an interesting combination of occupations to have: dentist, barber, undertaker, all in one. Oh boy, that's a very interesting. Well, I mean, if you've ever seen Doctor Quinn Medicine Woman, Jake Slicker initially, Simon being the barber, he was the town doctor before Dr. Mike came there, and by extension, a dentist. Chris, the book is done, right? Mike, it's written, drawn, and inked. We're in the coloring stages now with one of Pat's favorite colorists, Rob Epps, handling that chore. And we're sending it to Pat's letterer, Carlos Manuel, sometime this week. Yeah, some of this looks pretty gritty too. Look at some of these, some of these, some of this artwork here. Look at that werewolf. Wow, what he may be big and scary, but I don't. But my guess is he may not be quite as monstrous as the pictures may seem to indicate there. I'm just guessing though. Chris, anything special about the campaign you'd like to mention? Mike, yes, we're on Kickstarter, but we're also on FundMyCon. Okay, that's good to know that he did put it on FundMyCon. Maybe he knows now to anticipate issues with Kickstarter. An upstart crowdfunding site that is anti-censorship. As you well know, our last few campaigns have each had various run-ins with censorship. Luke Stone promises we will never have that problem at Fund My Comics. I believe it. So, yeah. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that he is actually on Fund My Comics. He has learned a bit of a lesson. So, what's been the most popular perk on the campaigns? Chris asked. Mike in response, the standard cover, A, is always your bestseller, but we've sold nearly 100 limited edition hardcover artist editions in the last 4 days, which is beautiful. It's black and white, lettered, and will be autographed by Pat and myself. We did a similar artist edition for Thin Blue Line, and it turned out magnificently. People loved it. So I guess here's some of the artwork from what he was just talking about there. So gritty, isn't it? Chris, thanks, Mike. Anything else you'd like to add? Um, yeah, Mike in response, yes. Our first stretch goal was reached on the third day, so the story now clocks in at a full 56 pages. We were gonna save it for a future installment, but it's a nice coda to this tale. The campaign wraps up at the end of the month, and I can't wait for you to read it. Check out Fund My Comic for more, and I hope to launch my own website just for my comics and books at baroncomics.com very soon. Oh, there we go. Let's see. Check out the campaign at bronzestarcomic.com and Kickstarter. All right, so there we go with that one. So that was some pretty interesting stuff there. And again, I'm glad to hear that Mike did, in fact, go to Fund My Comic. And as always, guys, if you haven't already, you guys can like and share the stream. See if we're going to get some more friendly people in here. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, continuing on with the article here then. The Unbreakable Argonauts by Ashley Land. Oh, some interesting. They better be careful with that one guy in the back there. He kind of looks like a version of Superman, maybe. Talking about the guy, obviously in the red, blue, and yellow there. Okay. Chris Braley. Chris Braley. Welcome to Indie Comic Showcase, Ashley. Um, kind of an interesting. Oh, I think he did a misspell there. Tell me about the Unbreakable Argonauts. Ashley Land. It's a pulp-inspired team of heroes from the late Golden Age era who set out to rescue two of their own from the clutches of their rogues gallery. It's pulp meets mythology in this action packed adventure comic full color. Wow, that sounds like a very interesting thing. A lot of the Golden Age heroes, at least from DC, did have a lot of mythos attached to them as well. Had a lot of sorcerers in that time, like Doctor Fate, Zatara, Sargon, um, Johnny Thunder, you know. So, what inspired this story? Chris asked. Ashley, in response, I've always been a big fan of retro comics like New Frontier, Phantom, or Rocketeer, and decided to craft my own unique team of heroes that could thread the needle between pulp and superheroes. There wasn't much in the way of that in comics, so I decided to create my own. Well, I hope I get a chance to talk to this young lady because see if I can get her to start watching our Friday shows. Involved in that, she might get if she's big into the Golden Age stuff. She'll I would hope that she did watch our shows on Friday. She would she would take a liking to that stuff. Well, anyways, what sort of reader is this aimed at? Ashley, in response, fans of pulp, old school superheroes, science fiction, or mythology will all find something to love in Unbreakable Argonauts. Uh, Chris, tell us about your style and creative process. Um, and how you develop them. Ashley, I typically write my ideas down as short stories and then develop them into comic book scripts. I like to plan ahead and currently have the outline for the next four stories after the first issue and plan on turning this into an ongoing, and I think ongoing series. How she was, oh, look right there. Couple of apes right there, it looks like. But one of them actually looks like a somebody. I guess she decided to combine an ape and the Incredible Hulk. It looks like that one feature right there. Second and third, the two middle panels right there. That guy right there looks like somebody mashed together a gorilla and the Incredible Hulk. Chris, talk about your creative team that contributed to this project and share a little bit about the book's current state. Ashley, I work with interior artist Daniel Max and colorist Russell Vincent Yu, both of whom really made this comic possible. Both are incredibly talented, and their styles are just brilliantly suited to the story and setting. We also have an incredible cover drawn by the great Yannick Paquette. The book currently has 10 pages completed out of 64. Should have half the pages completed by the end of summer. The hope is that the book will be ready to ship in early 2024. If I could give any creator advice, it's to take your time on the marketing before going live with your campaign. Oh, this artwork is pretty impressive too. Wow. She really kind of went out with, she took, it does look like she took elements in the Golden Age, Golden Age DC and even some Marvel. As I said, the one guy looked like she kind of mashed a gorilla together with the Incredible Hulk. The guy on the far right here, far right on my screen, he kind of looks like Batman in a way. Yeah, the one guy in there with the hood, that red hood on, kind of looks like a little bit with that color scheme, looks like a variation of Superman. Chris, what are your plans beyond this book? Are there more stories to tell? Ashley, I plan on keeping this book alive as an ongoing series if possible. Hope to construct a small shared universe out of it, but something that will remain contained within the same series. Chris, thanks, Ashley. Good luck on campaign. Wow, that sounds like a shared universe and all. Well, I applaud her. That's quite an undertaking. I hope she succeeds. I like the idea of building a universe like that. That's a cool thing. That's one of the cool things when you look back to the Golden Age stuff that we do on Friday nights. Watching how those worlds and those universes built over time. Like she's trying to do the same thing here. So I hope she succeeds. All right. So here, and I guess this is a title of a possible book here. Um, so let's get into this one. Virtue Signal NPC by William C. Dalebout. Wow. I wonder what this one's about. Ah, Chris Braley asked, says, welcome to Indie Comics Showcase, William. You're actually crowdfunding something other than a comic. Tell me about it. William Dalebate. Yes, it's a game. I hope that's not a deal breaker. It's called Virtue Signal, the game of social justice. And it is a card game parody of social justice activism. Oh, wow. Parody of social justice activism. That sounds very interesting. Oh my god! I wonder what NPC stands for. I wonder if that stands for not politically correct or non-player character. Let's see. Let's I guess see what let's see what else they have. In Virtue Signal, you play as one of several different social justice warriors. The object simply is to attract a coalition of NPC followers to your cause, whatever that is. The first player to 15 is the winner. I guess the first player who can get 15 followers is the winner. Virtue Signal simulates the power struggles and one-upmanship that goes on between activist groups. The issues themselves are of little consequence. They are merely useful tools to get leverage over others. May the wokest warrior win. That sounds funny. Banned from Kickstarter. I wonder why. Yet another expansion to virtue signal the game. Uh, Chris, hilarious. Where did the idea from this comic come from and made you decide to crowdfund it? Real life? I kind of got canceled out of the illustration industry for political reasons. So survival mostly, and a desire to make things for people who have nothing. The game is for emotionally mature people who believe humor is the best antiseptic. Uh, okay. That was Williams' response here. Well, I guess these are some of the different types of players. Let's look at these. Miss Problem Glasses. Okay. The Antifa Crusader. The Antifa Crusader. Do 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 do. The Super Social Justice Warrior. Do 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 do. Captain Fedora. The Brood Matriarch. Do 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 do. The Trustafarian. Do 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 do. The Marcus Academic. Do do do. The Lipstick Lesbian. Do 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 do. The Burnout. Do 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 do. The Twiggy Wiccan. Do 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 do. The Asian Riot Girl, or I guess Asian, I guess is do 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 do. The Soy Boy, do 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 do. A Venerable Elder, do 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 do. A journalist, do do. And Bang Bang, new. Yeah, I just felt like you see some of that stuff. You just gotta put the if this is meant to all be a parody and all that. Why not throw in the Super Friends theme into it to kind of make it even more laughable? Do 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 do. Chris would then go on to ask, "Tell me about how you put the game together. Do you have a creative team?" Um, William responds, "It's all me, baby. I'm the whole team. I do everything in vector. Always have. I'm always noticing things in real life and play themselves that play themselves out like games. If it's an interesting game, I go ahead and make it. The game is about 95% finished. I don't know if there's a work quote unquote flow so much as a work vortex. Wow. Like a rock tumbler, everything is banging into everything else until everything is smooth. Wow, kind of the whole iron sharpens iron thing, right? The object of the game is to assemble a coalition of NPC followers. First player to 15 is the winner. So I think they spelled you wrong there. You laugh out loud, Captain Fedora. Yeah, I guess that's one of the possible um, comment ping ping. uh, your followers, the NPC. Oh yeah, NBC band, NPC. So you're crowdfunding it at Fund My Comics after being canceled at Kickstarter for reasons. What have you been learning through all this, William? If you don't mind being poor, you can do what you love. Stop other activists by accusing them of Microaggressions. Oh boy. Problematic crush. Micro microaggression. You're prettier when you smile. Microaggression. That damn frog meme. Microaggression. MLK or milk. Microaggression. It's going to show how nutty people are. So these are all microaggressions, huh? Okay. Yeah, SJWs really belong in an insane asylum, don't they? Should just put them all in straight jackets and just lock them up for the rest of their lives. Are there more games in the pipeline? William, tons. I'll keep making things until people stop buying them. Now, this guy is really starting to start an industry. RPGs that are based on SJWs. That I think kind of sounds like a modern day Monopoly or something, right? Ah, the Deplorables expansion added the ability to play as a disgusting troll. The Oracle of Austin. Fantasy Trad Waifu. Trenchcoat Mafia. Kyle. Okay. Uh, Chris. Great. Anything else you would like to share with our readers before we sign off? Any special features you'd like to mention? Um, William. Yes. All Greta's, which is 216 identical cards that look like Greta Thunberg, a tabletop gaming consent form, which is exactly what it sounds like. Savage! Thanks and good luck, William. Oh, wow. At this vision of Greta Thunberg, whatever. How dare you? Yeah, I wonder why it got canceled from Kickstarter. Maybe because it hit a little too close to home. Anyways, that's it for this installment. If you're a creator ramping up your own campaign or have a comic available for purchase online and you want to be featured in our weekly column, click here and follow Indie Comic Showcase on Twitter and reach out to them for more eyes on your crowdfunding comic project. Till next time, support indie comics. All right, there we go with that one. Oh wow, we're 39 minutes. Wow, yeah. Wow, so we took up about 2/3 of the show right there with that one article. Well, I'm glad for that. Anyways, I think it would be a good time to start preparing to move on a little bit. All right, so um, let me just look something up here real quick. All right, so let me just. 80 years old. All right. So first thing I want to talk about tonight, in the wrestling wrap up, is the passing of the Iron Sheik. Um, so of course the Iron Sheik, born born Hossein Khosrow Ali Vaziri, was born September 9th, 1942. Died June 7th, 2023, at the age of 80. Of course, he's a former WWE World Heavyweight Champion, having won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship back in 1983 from Bob Backlund before losing it to Hulk Hogan. Um, he was 80 years old. So, Vaziri, of course, would start his professional career in, I think it was 1972, after, of course, having competed in the Olympics for, I believe it was Iran, 1973. So actually, it was a 1971. He was a 1971 national AAU champion. Should have been the 180 gold medalist there. Started his early career in late '72 by starting out as a referee in the AWA territory, American Wrestling Association, based out of Minnesota. Run guys before getting actually into the ring in 1973, I believe. So he trained at Gagne's wrestling camp under trainer Billy Robinson, same class as Ric Flair. So this guy was in the same pro wrestling class as you know. Now in his early career in the '70s, there he wrestled a lot for the AWA in his early days. Um, he first wrestled as a face in preliminary matches before a promoter suggested he adopt a heel gimmick similar to the Notorious Sheik. Um, his Iranian gimmick received attention due to the Iranian Revolution. Being the name. So let's see. Before, of course, going to the WWF in the mid '80s, had a few other shots. He started out in the AWA in the '70s. There, '79, '80, he came to the WWF for the first time, um, and won the first ever Battle Royal in Madison Square Garden. Earned him a title shot at then champion Bob Backlund, who pinned him later that night. So he and Backlund had faced each other before he beat Backlund in '83. Later feuded with Chief J. Strongbow and Bruno Sammartino before leaving in 1980. In '81, he was involved in. He went to, of course, the Carolinas and wrestled for Jim Crockett Promotions. You know, that's the as Hussein Arab initially. Um, and of course, I think one of the gimmicks he started in the '70s was kind of the Persian club gimmick, where he would be swinging around these clubs. Um, Hail Zenu. What about Iran? JCPOA update. No, we're talking about Iranian. No, JL. We're talking about former Iranian-born professional wrestler Hossein Khosrow Ali Vaziri, better known to fans as the Iron Sheik. He passed away today, the age of 80. I'm just going over his career a bit here, highlighting some points of his career. of course, being a former WWF World Heavyweight and World Tag Team Champion. We'll get into that a bit. He actually did have a 1-year stint prior to him coming back in '83 when he beat in which he did actually face Bob Backlund then as well. And if you guys haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, anyways, as we were talking here, Iron Sheik would wrestle from in '80 and '81. Would wrestle in Jim Crockett Promotions. Played upon they were playing up his villainous persona was playing up upon the events around Hostage Crisis. That they had him feud with Jim Brunzell that year over the Mid-Atlantic heavyweight title. He would also, of course, have bouts against opponents like Sweet Ebony Diamond, a.k.a. Rocky Johnson, a.k.a. The Rock's dad, and Johnny Weaver, before losing to Ricky Steamboat in a Falls Count Anywhere's match. November 1980. He also feuded with Blackjack Mulligan, the father of Barry Windham, as well. He left Jim Crockett Promotions in August of '81. Then from '81 to '82, he would wrestle in Mid-South Wrestling. That was Bill Watts. Left the promotion in January, making brief returns in October of 1982. He would also wrestle for Championship Wrestling Florida, and then finally settle in to Georgia Championship Wrestling, where he would, where he won a tournament for the vacant NWA National Television title. It lasted until July 1983 when he lost and then Vaziri left the promotion the following month. So he would then return to the WWE from 1983 to '87, and then he was let go. We'll get into that in a moment, and then come back in '88. Because the reason he left the end of '87 was quite controversial. Oh, too bad. Even I heard of Iron Sheik. I break your back, make you humble. Yep, with this infamous camel clutch finisher. It would basically sit on your back, elevate your arms over your shoulders, and just stiffen your neck too. And what a lot of people don't remember is that he did, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this, he did have a amateur background too. He was just as another point of interest there. He would return to the WWE, as we said, in 1983, where he actually did challenge and eventually defeat Backlund for the WWF World Heavyweight title, and would issue Persian Gulf. Of course, he would serve more as a transitional champion a bit here until Hulk Hogan came into the promotion. He'd have matches. He'd have defenses against like the Chief J. Strongbow, Pat Patterson, Salvatore Bellomo, and Tito Santana. He then, of course, bitterly feuded with Sergeant Slaughter. Oh yeah, 2 days later at Madison Square Garden, Iron Sheik was scheduled to rematch Backlund, who was replaced by Hulk Hogan. 5 minutes in, Sheik had Hogan locked in the camel clutch. Hogan powered to his feet, and Sheik, still on his back, rammed him backwards into the turnbuckle and hit his atomic leg drop for the pin. So that which this moment is generally considered the launch of Hulkamania. So it was Hogan's win that is generally over Iron Sheik that's considered the birth of a Hulkamania. Now, according to Iron Sheik, Vern Gagne had offered him $100,000 to break Hogan's leg during the match and return to the AWE with the WWF title, though Gagne's son, Greg Gagne, has disputed the claim. He then bitterly feuded with Sergeant Slaughter, and kind of funny because eventually Sheik and Slaughter would team up again later. Would actually become, of course, and then from 1985 to 87, Iron Sheik, aka Hossein Vaziri, would team up with Nikolai Volkov, a real name Josip Peruzovich, with Classy Freddie Blassie as their manager in one of the classic heel teams of that time period, having won the World Tag Team Championship at the time. Now, here's where things get a little tricky. In May of 1987, the Iron Sheik was involved in an on-screen rivalry with Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Vaziri playing the evil foreigner, Hacksaw playing the babyface patriot. Well, one night they decided to, after an event, they decided to go out. Actually, no, I'm thinking of something else there, but they went out together. And the New Jersey State Police had suspected Duncan of DUI. After a search of the vehicle, the police found Duggan was under the influence of marijuana while she was high on cocaine. Small amounts of cocaine were also found in the vehicle. So this led to Duggan being let go for a year and Sheik being put on probation from the WWE. The reason this was such a scandal at that point was because was due to the fact that they were on-screen rivals, and at this point in time, you just didn't break kayfabe. Kayfabe is like what's involved in the storyline. And then Iron Sheik came back in February of '88. Defeated SD Jones on a house show, and basically was there, but basically ended up, I think, being a bit of a jobber. He kind of came. Ultimately, the return was short lived. He left again in July of that year, and then from '87 to '89, over those next 3 years, he would go back and forth between World Class, AWA, and World Wrestling Council, and then come to WCW in '89, '91. Again, would have some matches here and there, not too notable. His third return to the WWE was just for 1 year, 91-92, in which he came back as Colonel Mustafa, aligned himself with Sergeant Slaughter over the whole Persian Gulf gimmick. And then throughout after 92, basically went into semi-retirement. So that was the extent of it. But anyways, Iron Sheik passed away at the age of 80 today. So anyways, let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and do a little quick moment of silence for him, and then we'll move on with the rest of the wrestling wrap up. Okay. So now tonight's AEW Dynamite event will have a few matches of interest. MJF will be coming on, of course, to talk about what's next for him following his win over the other three pillars at Double or Nothing. But tonight's Dynamite, we'll go over the results tomorrow when they show up. But the matches include Jay White taking on Ricky Starks. Chris Statlander will be defending the TBS title against Hannah Jay. Konosuke Takeshita with Don Callis in his corner will be taking on Damon Ace. Jungle Hook will be taking on La Facción Ingonable members Dralistico and let me do this because Ricky Starks versus Jay White. Chris Statlander defends the TBS title against Hannah Jay. Konosuke Takeshita takes on Damon Ace. Jungle Hook takes on La Facción Ingonable. Of Rocky Romero and best friends Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor will be taking on Blackpool Combat Club members of Ring of Honor World Champion Claudio Castagnoli, John Moxley, and Wheeler Yuta. And then opening up the night is Orange Cassidy defending the international title against Swerve Strickland. So that's all we got for the wrestling wrap-up for you guys tonight. Now, before we get into we're gonna wrap up here with the this day in each history. But before we do that, I do have to make mention of a correction I have to do because the other night on Monday I had noted that the second season of Kingdom started on that date back in 2013. Actually, it was on tomorrow's date, the 8th, that happened. For whatever reason, I think I was just so excited to see that that I kind of goofed there. So actually, it's on tomorrow's date, 10 years ago, that Kingdom's second season premiered for Puro. But anyways, on to tonight's pieces of niche history. We've only got a couple of them. So let's take a look back at this day in niche history. History! So, anyways, first off, we're going to head back to 1973, 50 years ago. As on this date, 50 years ago today, the 195th issue of Young Romance, which was a bi-monthly, in other words, every 2 month romance anthology published by DC under the National Periodical Publications Incorporated. It sold for 20 cents. 32 pages, of course, had 3 romance. So on this date, 50 years ago today, 195th issue of Young Romance went on sale on newsstands from DC at the time. So with that, moving on to the next and last piece of niche history for tonight. And on this date, 30 years ago today, this date, wrong thing. Wrong thing. Anyways, me. On this date, 30 years ago today, from the Manhattan Center in New York City, New York, WWE held its Monday Night Raw tapings. This was the one episode where it was it was taped earlier in the day and happened on the same day. This was the Raw. This was they said, as they call them today, the go home Raw before the next pay per view, which I believe was the King of the Ring. This was the Raw before Hulk Hogan's last television appearance with the WWF during his first run in the company, or during his most famous run in the company. In the main event, saw IRS team with Fatu of the head shrinkers taking on Rick Steiner and Billy Gunn, with of course Afu, Samu, and Ted DiBiase and IRS and Fatu's corner, while Rick Steiner and Billy Gunn had Bart Gunn and Scott Steiner in their corner. Tonka defeated, basically, and the rest of the matches were pretty much enhancement matches. One notable one, Adam Bomb defeating El Matador, who was Tito Santana at the time. They decided to have him do a Matador gimmick. And a dark match before this show saw Mr. Perfect defeat Jerry Lawler via DQ. So that happened all on this date back in 1993. So with that, that's all I have for you guys tonight. I thank everybody for being here. I hope everybody enjoyed the show, enjoyed the news items we talked about. Be back here tomorrow night with more niche news. And don't forget, this Friday, I have Rick Piper joining me for our weekly look back at comics history, in which we will be looking at, this week we'll be focusing in on Best Comics, Volume 1, Number 2 from Standard Comics, so which will have a bunch of reprints, but hopefully you guys will get some enjoyment out of that. Anyways, I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.